So, hi everyone. Welcome to our summer book bash. Today we have a really wonderful book buzz with Chronicle, Levine Querido, and Norton. But first, we have Reg from Chronicle, who has so many great, cool books. We were just chatting about them earlier. Also, Reg, I love your background with the conference room. It looks very inviting and colorful. And I'm really just happy to have you here. So please feel free to go ahead and get started.
Oh my gosh, of course. Hi everyone. I'm Reg Lim. I'm the SNL marketer for Chronicle Books. This is actually like my first regional book buzz, so I'm really excited to be here. So I'm excited to get into our list, starting with picture books. But just really quickly before I get into that, some starred reviewed picture books from our spring season. Anything is the picture book debut by Newbery Award winner Rebecca Stead, illustrated by Gracie Zhang. Fresh off her Caldecott honor win for Noodles on a Bicycle, this is the story of a little girl and her father, a painful time of transition, and the power and unexpected fulfillment of a wish spoken aloud. Smash Crash Topple Roll is a joyfully illustrated picture book biography of Rube Goldberg, the man and comic book artist behind those iconic and wacky but totally functional gadgets. The story of Gumluck and the Heroes by the amazing Adam Rex is the third book in a series that we like to call Monty Python for the early reader set. The Moon Moved In is a book that I describe as STEM light. It's a funny picture book, parable of sorts about why the moon belongs in the sky and not on Earth, say, as your sweet new gardening buddy. It's tongue-in-cheek, but kids will get their vegetable in as the book sneaks in some actual science about the moon's role in the ecosystem, including some fun facts in the back matter. When a Tree Falls is one of the coziest nonfiction picture books reads you'll come across. It's a beautiful testament to the way Mother Earth, when untouched, knows just how to take care of its own. Henry's Picture Perfect Day is the third in a chapter book series about the much-loved Henry, who struggles with new situations and social anxiety. It's never explicitly stated that he's autistic, but many young ones on the spectrum will relate with his struggles. This little dude knows exactly how he feels, and he's not afraid to feel it, and that makes him Chronicle Books' personal hero. And Black Boy Rise is the dream collaboration between acclaimed poet Bryn Barnes and superstar illustrator Brian Collier. It's both an empowering anthem that celebrates the joys and potential of young Black boyhood, and it's an homage to Black poets and writers whose voices have lifted and defined the Black experience. Hand this one to fans of Amanda Gorman's picture book, Change Sings. In Between Places has been getting so much love because of the art by Grady McFerrin. This is an ode to those navigating those spaces of transition. Change can be really scary, but we can also find magic there if we know how to look for it. Hand this one to recent grads or really anyone facing times of uncertainty and change. Hello, 2025. And In Dark Nights and Light Hearts by Hina Khan, Islamic culture and the early learning concept of opposites come together. This is the follow-up and companion to her picture book Golden Domes and Silver Lanterns, which is a Muslim book of colors. And now that we're done kind of going over our starred favorites, we can dive into fall, starting with The Faraway Forest. This is a brand new beginning reader graphic series that we're doing by Debbie Fong. Her name might sound a little familiar to you. She's racked up lots of accolades for her debut middle grade graphic novel last year, Next Stop. Next Stop had some heavy themes, and as a counterpoint, Debbie really wanted her next project to be all about cozy comfort and magical world building, and she absolutely delivered. I personally think of it as Sanrio or Animal Crossing, but in comics form. So, welcome to the Faraway Forest, home to an assortment of adorable animal characters, including a sweet and dedicated postal carrier named Wally and a loyal white rabbit named Bo. They're so dedicated, in fact, that they're out to win over their grumpiest neighbor, the cantankerous Mr. Sternbill. Wally's route is the perfect entree into the series since you get to meet all the animal friends while you join Wally on his delivery route around the forest. The common refrain you'll hear is that everyone who reads Wally's route wishes they could live in the faraway forest too. And when you read it, you'll see why. Extra surprises include a seek and find activity for each chapter and character drawing tutorials at the end. FYI, Debbie will be at NY Comic Con this fall, and I think that already took place, but they were on a panel with Drew Pankary. And up next, we have Welcome to the Penguin Cruise, where you can set sail into the seek and find picture book where nautical adventures await. And all aboard the Oceano Penguino. This dream cruise is a 5-story ship with 24 rooms each containing its own exciting story. Follow along as one penguin family embarks on their very first vacation, navigating new seas and helping the cruise crew find missing treasure along the way. You'll meet all sorts of penguin passengers, from Captain Penguino to Phantom Thief Le Penguin, all set against countless details to pour through. Kids will be coming back to this one again and again to see what new gems they can uncover. And I'm also including the end papers here just because I love the random dragon. They are a character in the book. And then we have Hugged by the Night from spoken word poet Harold Green, a picture book full tale that is both a perfect bedtime read aloud to help kids overcome their fear of the dark and a powerful visual and lyrical affirmation of Blackness. As darkness settles over the forest, three animals gaze up at the night sky and wonder how they too can be as confident, proud, and fearless as she is. Well, the sky hears their wishes and she gently takes each animal into her arms. One by one, she bestows them with a powerful and transformative gift. Harold Green III went viral on Instagram for Black Roses, a love letter to powerful and inspiring underrepresented women. Here he partnered with Karabo Poppy, whose picture I dropped. Oh, I guess I did not drop that, but she's a South African illustrator, street artist, and Nike sneaker collaborator. She's designed 3 sold out lines of Air Force Ones, so you can mention that to those kids who think they're too cool for picture books. We've also got some heartwarmers for you. We're actually going to start with Baby Express Yourself. In this board book, you'll find lots of unfiltered advice. It stars a cheeky little pundit who's definitely got it all figured out. There is some wisdom here, not just to empower a new generation of littles, but plenty of humorous gems for grown-ups to take away too. Balloon, this almost wordless picture book, is an in-house favorite. You've all experienced it, that terrible moment when you accidentally lose a beloved balloon, but sharp-eyed kitties will spot something orange and round in every scene as they join in a sweet adventure with a little boy to a surprise ending that will absolutely delight you. My Quiet Place, I absolutely love this picture book. It actually just published this week. It's the day in the life of a little girl navigating a very loud and busy world. With her focus and determination, she identifies creative ways to find those moments of quiet when she needs them, and even to share it when someone else needs it too. We also have an activity kit available on our website. It's got soothing activities, empathy mapping, a little like drawing coloring sheet. This book is really great for kids like struggling with anxiety or overstimulation, so it's also a favorite of mine. And here are the latest books in the series by creators that you probably already know and love. Yes, Annie Barrows and Sophie Blackall are back. The troublemaker duo behind Ivy and Bean are up to their old shenanigans. This time, they would like you to meet 2 small sisters, Stella and Marigold, with very big imaginations. In the second installment, Mermaids and Mix-Ups, the siblings receive a present. It's a journal that includes space for them to list all their friends. Well, there are a lot of lines on that page, and Stella and Marigold are thinking they better make more friends fast. Will they need to employ a little so-called magic to make that happen? Look out for it in early fall to find out. And speaking of magic, award-winning author Nina LaCour is back with the 3rd book in her Ella Josephine series. For those new to the Ella Josephine books, these are charming stories about a very special apartment building in San Francisco. But it's the wonderful community of residents, including Ella Josephine herself, who makes it magical. Nina has admitted she wanted to write an escapist chapter book series about a very utopian community of city dwellers, and who can't use a little utopia right now. Moving on to some nonfiction. If you're as much of a Kate Messner fan as we are, you know her acclaimed Over and Under Nature series, illustrated by Christopher Silas Neal. Their latest might be the closest thing to summer vacation in a nonfiction book for those who didn't get to take a summer vacation, including me. So get ready for a trip to the lively coral reef of the Caribbean. You can explore the world over and under the coral reef, where you'll meet everything from sea turtles and balloonfish to nurse sharks, octopuses, flounders, pink anemones. The wonders only grow the deeper we go. Discussions of the endangered coral reef have been top of mind in the news and in social media. This book is a really great jumping off point for discussions about the wonder of our natural habitats and ecosystem and how important it is to protect them while we still can. And we also have The World Entire. Everyone knows Oscar Schindler and his famous list, but have you heard of Aristides de Souza Mendes? If this book had a soundtrack, it would include the song Non-Stop from Hamilton. Mendes was a Portuguese diplomat who, in complete opposition to his government's commands, helped French refugees escape the Nazis by granting them visas in Portugal. He ended up saving thousands of lives in just 23 days. Among them are some names you might recognize, like Salvador Dali and H.A. and Marguerite Ray, the creators of Curious George. He also saved professors of medicine, biology, and physics who would go on to teach in America, as well as countless others whose lives were no less precious to Mendez. In fact, he said to the very end of his life that every life is worth saving, something he and his family paid dearly for. This is a picture book biography of courage and conviction with a message that will resonate profoundly today. And then next we have Leyendas. Here's an awesome illustrated compendium for middle graders featuring real life role models, both current and historical. Leyendas celebrates 60 legendary Latin icons who have changed the world. It profiles famous modern day figures, many of them still living, as well as past and lesser known heroes. You'll get to know or revisit icons like Frida Kahlo, AOC, Sonia Sotomayor, and Elizabeth Acevedo, among others. And yes, that was Shakira on the cover. Hand this one to fans of Little Leaders and Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls. The next nonfiction I'll be talking about is The Vanishing Sea, which is told in an incredibly accessible folkloric tale. It's the little-known story and cautionary tale of the devastating disappearance of the Aral Sea outside of Russia because of commercial greed. The fishing community there not only lost their livelihoods and the beautiful biodiversity of their home, but are also witness to the negative impact that stretched to far-reaching countries. I'm going to steal one anecdote from the book's editor. The author-illustrator created the final art on one piece of paper. It's long enough that it goes from the front of Dinara's house through her living room to the kitchen. I can't wait for all of you to actually see the finished book with this beautiful art. And then, of course, we have globally acclaimed Taro Gummy, who is back with a follow-up to his big book of words, this time with verbs. This time, he's tackling action words and delivers yet again with his signature charming and detail-heavy art. To me, his books are like Where's Waldo with a cool Asian pop art sensibility, which I think makes it an especially engaging way to introduce little ones to grammar. And then finally, we have I Am We. If your kids like their nonfiction served with a side of dark, then this one is for you. Don't miss the 2-star reviews. It's already gotten. This is definitely more of an informational picture book. The title refers to how crows work together for survival, but I'd actually say this pairs well with Halloween. And speaking of holidays, we've got so many holiday books this season. We have Together on Eid, a warm picture book that follows one family's festive traditions celebrating Eid as they dress up fabulously and feast together. It reminds us that family traditions everywhere are more alike than they are different. Lost and Found Hanukkah. This is a really sweet story of a little boy who can't find his beloved menorah after moving to a new home with his dad's. But with the inadvertent help of a bodega cat, he finds that everything in his new home can be made right again. We also have Tiny T-Rex and the Itty Bitty Bun Bun. In this adorable board book, Tiny T decides to assume the mantle of the Easter Bunny in order to plan sweet surprises for Mom and Dad Rex, who unthinkably don't receive Easter baskets of their own. This book is coming out on the heels of Tiny T and the First Day Oopsies, hot off the press about Tiny's adventures on his first day of school. And of course, the beloved construction site crew is back now for Hanukkah lights. This Lift the Flap book shows the crew once more working together, this time to find ways to bring Hanukkah to the construction site. Watch them light the menorah, deliver mounds of gifts, and build a dreidel, all in creative and unique ways that only the construction crew can. And from the dream team behind the recent New York Times bestselling construction site Garbage Crew comes Steam Train, Dream Train, Next Stop, Christmas. The animal friends in the first Magical Steam Train book are back. This time, they're busy loading up the cars for the holidays before it takes to the air to transport warmth and magic everywhere. This one is really less about gifts, but also more about like the spirit of Christmas and coming together. And finally, really quickly, while on the kid side, we focus on visual books for young readers, we do have a lot of really fun adult nonfiction books that could appeal to your older teens. I find Your Lack of Candy Disturbing is basically a Halloween greeting card in a book with art, puns, and jokes featuring beloved Star Wars characters. And it does include art by Chronicle fan favorite Jeffrey Brown, who you might know from books like his beloved Darth Vader and Son. Curious Coffins and Riveting Rituals will also give your readers an entertaining but also deeply passionate look at beliefs about death and dying around the world. Talking to My Father's Ghost is a sort of memoir by millennial cartoonist Alex Crocus, who, if you are on X/Twitter, he's gone viral for a few comics. It's based on his own experience and family, but told with lovable anthropomorphic characters. In this book, Alex has just lost his beloved father, that is, until his dad comes back as a ghost, and Alex is delighted to have him back. What follows is his navigating the next year of his life, grieving and growing with the help of not just Ghost Dad, but all the support of his wacky friends and family. There's so much humor and heart, and it's really just a unique take on loss and love. We also have Guerrilla Art Guide by Carrie Smith, best-selling author of Wreck This Journal, who's here to find and unlock the inner artist or activist in all of us. Your teens can create everything from sidewalk chalk quotes, stickers and stamps, to stencils, art scavenger hunts, wish trees, and more. This small but powerhouse guide shows how small artistic acts can start a quiet revolution. And then we have Instant Ramen Kitchen for teens who love to cook it up or are heading to college. Ramen is cheap, it's the ultimate comfort food, it's fast and easy, but as Peter J. Kim argues, there's also room for creativity and experimentation, which he makes space for in this genius cookbook. And that's it from Chronicle Books. My contact info is on this slide. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll pass it over to Levine Querido.
Thanks, Reg. Okay, let me see about sharing my screen here. Hi, everyone. I am Carrie Taylor. I'm sharing on behalf of Levine Querido. Thank you so much for being here. So we're starting off strong with The Teacher of Nomad Land, Daniel Nayeri. You may know he's the Prince Medalist, author of Everything Said Is Untrue, and Newbery Honor winner of the many Assassinations of Samir, the Seller of Dreams. You also may have seen this if you saw the New York Times review that just came out of this, that Kimberly Brubaker Bradley wrote a really outstanding review of this book before its release. I will link it in the chat as soon as I'm done presenting. She calls it superb of children's literature, so that was pretty exciting. Also, this currently has 3-star reviews. It comes out in a couple of weeks. This is a really interesting, compelling hidden history that explores a lesser-known chapter of World War II history, which is Iran's role during the conflict. It was a really fought-over territory by the Allies and the Axis powers, and very exploited in the process. And this is not something that's often taught in schools, but we've got this really, really authentic tale of 2 siblings traversing that territory during this period of time. This is about Babak and his little sister. They have just lost their father, and now orphans, fearing they will be separated, the two devise a plan. Babak will take up his father's old job as a teacher to the nomads. With a chalkboard strapped to Babak's back and a satchel full of textbooks, the siblings set off to find the nomad tribes as they make their yearly trek across the mountains. On the treacherous journey, they meet a Jewish boy hiding from a Nazi spy, and suddenly they are all in a race for survival. So this is against the backdrop of World War II. It's an epic adventure. It is, Daniel calls it a love letter to teachers and teaching. And it's ultimately about a group of young people finding a common language during wartime. It's really ideal, I think, for classroom adoption. It's got really strong historical and social emotional learning themes. There's a lot of courage, resilience, and finding common ground, even in times of conflict when it's difficult. So we're just completely blown away by this one. As always, by Daniel's writing, he just gets better and better. DJ Rosenblum Becomes the Goat is I would say this is like a perfect, like true YA, really catering to that 12, 13, 14-year-old age range that we don't have enough books in, I think. This follows teenage DJ whose beloved cousin Rachel allegedly died by suicide, but whom DJ is convinced was murdered. So when she moves to Rachel's hometown, she must juggle prepping for her bat mitzvah with investigating Rachel's death. So this is like kind of a quirky murder mystery caper that like secretly hides a really, really touching message about grief and processing and finding a support system that really takes care of you. And it kind of tucks it into this comedic murder mystery, and of course, DJ's way of processing her cousin's death as a mystery that needs to be solved ends up dissolving into needing emotional support from those closest to her. I think it's incredibly beautifully handled, really sensitive. Um, the author is Gen Z. She's a debut Abby White. We're super excited to be introducing her. It's got this hand-painted, beautiful cover that I love from Angie Kang. We've also been hearing from librarians that like they would really like more books in this age range, this kind of younger YA. And it has such a fun voice that really, really hooks you from the first few pages. And so a great addition to the series of books on teenage mental health, I think. All right, self-portrait. This is, for those who are not aware, we do a lot of translated literature, and this is a translated YA. It is about a main character named Jip. It's very insular and introspective. Jip has an assignment from school for spring break to draw a self-portrait. Should be easy, but Jip's thoughts keep wandering and wandering to the new boy in class, to beetles and fireflies, to twilight dreaming, to this party that's coming up on Friday, and especially to the boy who changed Jip's world once and for all. This YA book swept all the YA awards and attention in the Netherlands at the end of last year, and like DJ, this is a true YA, like 12, 13, 14-year-old range. It's right around 200 pages. There's beautiful line work drawings throughout. Ludwig got his start as an illustrator, and this is his first book that he's writing. And this is somewhat of a spoiler, but it's a wonderful addition to the canon of YA trans literature. Also, the translator, Lucy Scott, was just a finalist for the National Book Award in translation. She's super cool. Speaking of translated books, this is Butterfly Heart by Muabak Astot. You may or may not be familiar with Mua's first book, Fire from the Sky, which was a Prince honor last year, making it only the second translated title to ever be recognized by the Prince, and only the third indigenous title to ever be recognized by the Prince. Mua is Sami from Sweden. So like Fire from the Sky, this is a very tender love story with a really personal coming-of-age core at the heart of it. It's about half Sami, half Swedish teenager Vilda, who's a bit of an identity crisis when her grandfather on the Sami side of her family abruptly passes away, costing her her strongest link to her Sami identity, which she'd not given too much thought to before. So suddenly she finds herself dealing with new feelings of being split between the two sides of her identity, and there's this boy she meets at her grandfather's funeral and develops feelings for. So it's this tender exploration of grief and love and friendship during like the height of puberty when feelings are running really high and questions of identity are extra, extra high stakes. So I found this to be, it's a very universal feeling story. Like it may be set in rural Sweden, but anyone who's gone through puberty or adolescence will relate to it. It just got a star review from Kirkus. It's really, yeah, I think Mu is a really special talent. Okay, so Jolo, one of our lead titles this season. You know and love Donna Barbara Higuera, author of the Newbery and Purabelle Prix Medal winning The Last Quintista. This book is almost indescribable because it is so different from anything that's on the market in the best possible way. It is a heavily illustrated four-color chapter book for kind of younger middle grade. It is a twist on the Aztec myth of Xolotl, the dog-headed god of lightning, death, and misfortune. It is grounded in classic Mesoamerican and Aztec myth, but it's kind of a accessible telling of the tale that's funny and vibrant and has imaginative storytelling. Donna's voice, as always, shines through incredibly. And at its core, it's about a dog god who saves mankind from the Lord of the Underworld, creating man's best friend in the process. So it's a love letter to dogs. It's a mythology-heavy book. It is fully illustrated. All of these things that would make it, I think, really appealing to this age group that obviously loves mythology, like, above all things. And so it'd be awesome to introduce them to Aztec mythology. This just got a very early starred review that is absolutely unreal, like another one that I'll have to send in the chat. I share, all of its opinions. I'm glad to see that other people are as excited about Sholo as we are. Okay, just as a quick overview, we do release Spanish editions of very many of our titles, and we have a couple coming out this season. This would be the Spanish edition of Manny Semilla Finds Her Quetzal Voice. It is middle grade. You can see a list of some of the accolades it's gotten on there. Most recently, like the ALA Rise Feminist book list. It's in the Jane Addams Children's Book Award. It came from a debut, and it's really such an awesome book. So that we're excited that that one's in Spanish. Then obviously Chooch helped, our Caldecott Medal winner this year. This was a very quick turnaround. We got right on this one. So we have translated this into Spanish, and that will be available this fall as well. Okay, so this is a part of our Relit imprint that we founded recently, where we republish books that have gone out of print that we believe deserve a second audience, primarily from underrepresented voices. This is one's a little different and special because these poems have not been gathered together in this format before. They've not been consolidated like this. Paula Gunn-Allen is an incredible foremother of Native literature. She was a huge voice in the feminist movement in the 1970s. She published many individual poetry collections over the course of her life that have since gone out of print. So we are honored to be bringing them to contemporary readers fully collected for the first time. So it's really a reintroduction of a groundbreaking feminist for a contemporary generation. And it's this really beautiful voice that reclaims the voices of misunderstood and misrepresented women in Native history. It has a foreword from Lee Francis IV, who's Paula Gunn-Allen's nephew, and a real force in the publishing world as an educator, activist, and former bookstore owner. This would be great for like a really, really great addition to poetry sections, to poetry units, kind of, mix it up from what's traditionally offered in the canon. Okay, now we are moving into picture books. So we've just kind of gone over the older age group. This is I Am the River, an extraordinary nonfiction book. The river in this case being the Detroit River, and the focus of the story is the famous Bob Lowe boats, if anyone knows anything about them. So it tells the story of the Detroit River beginning even before humans were there. It takes it through the native history around the river, and then eventually brings it into the 19th and 20th centuries, talking about how this river and crossing it into Canada was often the last stop on the Underground Railroad. Then it moves into the central story that began in 1945 with this Black woman, Sarah E. Ray, who was prevented from riding one of these famous Bob Lowe boats across the river to this island because transportation was segregated. Obviously, hugely ironic given that its significance as the last stop on the Underground Railroad. She was obviously not having that, and together with Thurgood Marshall, took the case all the way to the Supreme Court. So that was a really crucial, influential case on desegregation that paved the way even 10 years before Rosa Parks, and it's really an undertold story that would be a great addition to any civil rights education. And this is a collaboration between children's book legend Patty Gouch and incredible award-winning author Leah Henderson. And then there's this debut illustrator who we're excited to work with as well. It has this kind of flowing quality to it, the illustration, that I think really captures the vibe of the river. So similar vein in terms of hidden histories that are not often told. This is Worthy, the Brave and Capable Life of Joseph Pierce. This just got a starred review. You may know Andrea Wang, author of Caldecott Medal and Newbery Honor-winning picture book Watercress. This is the true story of Joe Pierce, a Chinese boy who fought in the American Union Army at a time when anti-Chinese prejudice was rampant. So this is a key aspect of the Civil War that is not taught in schools. It is a very triumphant story that involves a lot of struggle, but ultimately is like kind of a version of a true definition of the American dream. It introduces a new illustrator. Yua Vang has this stunning cinematic artwork with meticulous detail, and it's a very well-researched account of Joe Pierce's life. Sunflower Seeds. Ellen Heck did a book with us called A is for B. She did a book about the Golden Gate Bridge with Chronicle Books, who just went before us. That is beautiful. Sunflower Seeds, as you can see here, it's extraordinary artwork. It is oil paint on brown paper. It's traditionally painted, and we have beautiful photos of her working on these. My favorite is she sent us a photo recently we gave her a copy of the book, and she sent us a photo of the book cover next to the painting that had gone onto the book cover, showing us that production had successfully captured the vibrancy of the paint. It looks exactly like the real painting, which we're very proud of. This follows a kindergartner's experience growing sunflowers for a class project, so observing every stage of the process and learning about the life cycle of sunflowers, and there's a kind of beautiful metaphor for our own growth and transitions. Um, Perfect for classroom discussions about STEM, life cycles, plants, etc. I know a lot of kindergarten curriculums actually have a unit where you grow sunflowers. It has a simple lyrical text, so it's really just kind of this mesmerizing, captivating reading experience. Also, the author has developed STEM activities for children to go along with the book. Really, really beautiful. This has a starred review as well, and multiple reviews comparing it to Van Gogh, which is never a bad thing. A to Z Tech. So Emmanuel Voltaire is a personal favorite of mine on our list. He illustrated Pilgrim Codex, which came out in the spring. And Pilgrim Codex was, it had 4-star reviews, was an incredible like story about immigration told in the style of an ancient traveler's codex. And A to Z Tech, so that one was him illustrating with a different author. This is his first book that he's doing as an author and illustrator. It is using the same kind of really cool art style that I'm very partial to that he used in Pilgrim Codex. It's got this Mesoamerican pre-Columbian influences, but it's almost bringing this kind of pop art style to it. I use the technical term video gamey because I think we get people comparing it to like particularly Pilgrim Codex. The color scheme is really reminiscent of like Mario and seeing the characters move across the screen, but I think there's something about it that is very naturally appealing to kids for that reason. So this is an alphabet book, and it's taking 26 different words drawing from Aztec mythology, concepts, gods. There's a lot of Nahuatl words, but also different pre-Columbian Mesoamerican cultures are represented in modern-day Mexican. There are some words, and each spread has this artwork with all these different Easter eggs going on and a fun poem to introduce these different words and concepts. They include different pronunciations where applicable, and the text is for both English and Spanish-speaking readers, so it's a bilingual book. We're really excited about Emmanuel, just really excited to build him as an artist. I think I haven't really seen art like his in children's books before, so I'm a fan. This is I Want to Eat My Brother. This is another translated title from French. This is about a boy who, or I suppose a rabbit, who really just does not want to eat his dinner and refuses every single option offered to him because he would like to eat his little brother. He's determined. That is the entire story. It is the funniest, most whimsical text, and it's got these hilarious visual gags, really punny writing. That was very difficult in translation. When we first found this book, we were a little bit like, how has this not been snapped up immediately? Because it was so funny in French. The French reader on our staff was like, that this is hilarious. And it ended up being because the sample translation that was being passed around didn't like, it was a very literal translation. It didn't capture any of these kind of really punny moments in the text, because that's obviously difficult to do in translation. So that was something we focused on as a priority, and I think it really pays off. Sometimes when the editor's pitching this, they just read sections of it out loud to make people laugh, and I wish I had time for that because that's always fun. Simone Rea, the artist, has won prizes from the Society of Illustrators, the Bologna Book Fair, and this is his US debut. So, very fun book. Speaking of books I wish I could just read aloud, the editor of this book once at a book launch that we did with our distributors at Chronicle who just went, once he just, instead of pitching the book, just opted to read it out loud, and by the end of it, tears were like streaming down his face, and the chat was like, we did not sign up to cry at this book launch. It's such a great book. It is about this ghost girl, Hannah. You can see her there. She's worried about her older sister, Lucy, who's gotten old. She's an older woman. And she's like, man, it's been a long time since Lucy left the house. There's no one anymore to share cake with or watch a movie with or read a book. So I'm gonna go see if I can make a friend for her, a friend for Lucy. But the problem is she's a ghost and no one can see her except for this one other little girl, Leah. So they become friends, and eventually she coaxes Leah over for a visit, and the three of them all share a really wonderful day together. There's a really, I don't want to spoil it, but there's a really wonderful, surprising, resonant, emotional moment at the end. And I think it's a book about kind of the relationship between older and younger generations, if you're wanting to introduce younger kids to why elderly people need friends and companionship, and particularly in the younger generation. And It's a real, heart jerker, and it's also blended with some really cool, as you can see there, almost like comic storytelling, but with this sort of old-fashioned feel to the illustration. So yeah, we hope it resonates as much as it has with us. Popcorn Bob Can't Stop Popping. Popcorn Bob is another one of our recurring translations from Dutch. We have done a lot of easy reader books in the Popcorn Bob series. This is the very first picture book, so bringing it to a younger audience. This is about beloved sentient popcorn kernel, Popcorn Bob. He is tired of popping off. He maybe has a little bit of an anger issue. He loses his temper sometimes. But with a little luck and a little help from the public library, he does research to find different anger management techniques, and he's determined to figure it out. Maybe meditation will work. Maybe relaxing in the great outdoors, or reading a book, or shouting on a riverbank where no one can hear you. I know I'm tempted by that one sometimes. Don't we all just want to go somewhere remote and scream sometimes? I think so. This is a really great picture book about what it means to feel big feelings and helping kids learn to manage their anger and other big emotions. It's unjacketed hardcover, which another personal bias of mine, if I had my way, every book in the world would be unjacketed hardcover. I love it. It's really fun. It's a sentient popcorn kernel. What's not to like? Okay, finishing off strong with, this is such an in-house favorite, Shibu's Tale. Kamui Fong is this illustrator who has 400,000 followers on Instagram for drawing cats, and he has never done a picture book until now, when Tess, who's the sister of one of our editors, pitched this book idea to him. Tess is herself a very accomplished writer, and he said yes for the first time in his career, and so thus Shibu's Tale was born. It is about a cat who uses his very demonstrative tail to express his feelings, but when he starts to feel a little judged by the other not quite so expressive cats, he must decide for himself whether those big feelings are okay. So this is, just like Popcorn Bob, a great story about talking about grappling with big feelings, talking about them in a neutral and supportive way, and it's got these incredibly fun illustrations. Kamui hand inks each image with thousands of small strokes. Also, I wish that I had more spreads of this to show you. There's a spread where it shows all of the spectrum of Shibu's emotions, and the tail is like exemplifying them in like hilarious little ways. And we have made a feelings poster out of this, like a how are you feeling with different Shibus to represent your emotions. So if you are interested in that poster, shoot me a note because we are working on distributing it more widely. Let me see if my contact information is here. Yeah, there I am, Carrie at levinequerido.com, marketing and publicity coordinator. You can reach me there, screenshot that, shoot me an email. I am super happy to answer any questions. And yeah, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Carrie. That was great. So you have so many great books too. Okay, and last but not least,
Hi, everybody. Sorry, it took me a minute to get back on the screen.
it's one of the,
Uh,
again, it's the Friday vibe for a Thursday, so it's fine. But last but not least, we have Golda from Norton, and who also has amazing books, and I'm really excited. So I'm adding all of these to my TBR, and I hope you are as well.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. And Norton does have children's books, but I'm bringing adult books today, so hopefully some of you are here for that. There is my contact information and all of our clients and imprints. And then we'll get started with just some highlights of books that are either already out or coming very soon. And then now we'll start with the fall books. So here's a new book by Mary Roach. You can never really replace the human body, but as best-selling science writer Mary Roach discovers, it sure is interesting to try. Replaceable You is Mary Roach's 8th book with Norton. Through interviews with patients, physicians, pathologists, engineers, and scientists, Roach immerses readers in the wondrous, improbable, and surreal quest to build a new you. Her books are always entertaining and educational, and she's not afraid to dig into all of the details. And, well, when we were presenting this in July, I was going to say that library reads votes are due tomorrow, but that is not the case anymore. So we're going to skip that line in the script. In his new book, Dark Renaissance, renowned scholar Stephen Greenblatt reconstructs Christopher Marlowe's brief life and shows how his involvement with the Queen's spy service inspired his dramatic masterpieces on power and its costs and led to his death. With detailed historical insight, Greenblatt explores how this time period delivered the economic, scientific, and cultural power of the modern world, involving Faustian bargains with which we reckon still. Without Fear is a sweeping history of the lives and ideas of Black women who have been at the forefront of the struggle for human rights in the United States. Acclaimed historian Keisha Blaine tells how Black women have made human rights theirs, from worldwide travel and public advocacy in the global Black press to their work for the United Nations. They courageously and effectively moved human rights beyond an esoteric concept to an active organizing principle. She writes about their aspirations, their visions, their strategies, and their struggles, and gives us a window into how Black women pioneered a human rights approach to combat systems of oppression. What Remains After a Fire is a debut collection of stories spanning modern-day Pakistan and the diaspora in the United States. Kanza Javed unspools the lives of characters desperately trying to forge a path for themselves on the margins of society. These stories reach across divides of class, gender, and religion as Javed examines questions of identity and agency, belonging, and loss. This is a moving portrayal of fiercely resilient characters who desire more than what their circumstances can offer them. In her new book, We the People, acclaimed historian Jill Lepore argues that the Constitution was meant to be malleable to meet the needs of the day. Challenging both originalism and the Supreme Court's monopoly on constitutional interpretation, Lepore argues that the framers never intended for the Constitution to be a static document, but instead expected that future generations would be forever tinkering with it, improving the machinery of government. Lepore offers a sweeping constitutional history, telling the stories of generations of Americans who have attempted everything from abolishing the Electoral College to guaranteeing environmental rights, hoping to mend America by amending its Constitution. And Joy Harjo's new book, Girl Warrior, was inspired by a group of young women that she met at a powwow in Tulsa who told her their stories and asked for advice. Informed by her own experiences and those of her ancestors, Harjo offers invaluable advice for navigating the many challenges of growing up, from facing a mental illness to grappling with parents, friendships, love, and loss. Girl Warrior also guides readers towards art, poetry, and music as powerful tools for developing their own ethical sensibility. In this book, Harjo lends her unique voice to the complexity and joy of becoming a woman today. I think this would work as a YA crossover for high schoolers as well as, college age kids or basically anybody. Anybody can learn from Joy. And then if you haven't seen her stunning picture book For a Girl Becoming, which is down there on the bottom of the slide, this is illustrated by Adriana Garcia, and it's just the most beautiful book. You must take a look at it. And then based on the popular TikTok series, Effed Up Fairy Tales presents modern retellings of some of the strangest and darkest stories humans ever invented. Inspired by sources across the world, Liz Gatauco conjures gossipy animals, homicidal royals, doomed commoners, and shape-shifting boyfriends, all reckoning with complicated adult problems that Disney versions have sanitized. Gotako offers insight into the story's contested origins, spills fun and weird details about fairy tale authors, and explores timeless themes that have long tickled the human subconscious. The book includes fairy tales from around the world, and it has illustrations by Liz's sister, Jade. The Monsters We Make by Rachel Corbett tells the story of criminal profiling from Victorian times to our own. She talks about the appeal of profiling, but also its limitations and potential abuses, like predictive policing. She uses examples from history, literature, and contemporary true crime to examine how thin the lines separating those who do harm and those who aim to stop it can be. And if those get ready with me videos on social media are making you rethink your skincare routine, you need The House of Beauty by longtime beauty and fashion journalist Arabella Siccardi. Weaving sharp analysis and vivid storytelling, Siccardi explores how beauty myths are crafted, sold, and weaponized from corporate boardrooms to local salons. She delves into issues like the exploitation of refugee labor in nail salons, the use of fragrance in fascist propaganda, and the hidden connections between power and profit. Siccardi challenges readers to confront the industry's costs and reconsider beauty as more than a product of consumption. The House of Beauty is an expose and a cultural reckoning, offering insight into the industry's true impact and the untold stories behind its illusions. In Chronicles of Ori, Harmonia Rosales retells the African myths she has long treasured, crafting an enthralling epic that spans the birth of the universe to the modern world of colonialism and resistance. The stories are interspersed with her gorgeous paintings, so it's like an art book and a mythology book in one. I didn't get any slides of the paintings, but if you look them up in our catalog on Edelweiss, they're just really beautiful. And then John Bacon's new book, The Gales of November, tells the definitive story of the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Drawing on more than 100 interviews with the families, friends, and former crewmates of those lost, Bacon explores the vital role Great Lakes shipping played in America's economic boom, the uncommon lives the sailors led, the sinking's most likely causes, and the heartbreaking aftermath for those left behind. Focused on those directly affected by the tragedy, The Gales of November is an emotional tribute to the lives lost and a propulsive, page-turning narrative history of America's most mourned maritime disaster. From the New York Times bestselling author of The Lost Art of Reading Nature Signs, Hidden Seasons is an eye-opening, original approach to the popular topic of the changing seasons, revealing a whole world of clues and signs that show there's much more to see and explore around the four seasons. A cloud of dancing insects in a sun pocket, for instance, marks an interesting moment in the spring calendar to see the link between astronomy and animal behavior. In 12 chapters, you'll uncover each granular seasonal change, month by month, to more deeply understand the way nature makes its way through a year. And drawing inspiration from dance moms, celebrity, viral videos, and pop stars, Lucky Girl by Ali Tagle-Dokes is a darkly funny debut novel about the absurd and fleeting nature of childhood fame and the ever-evolving desire for family and forgiveness. 12-year-old Lucy is discovered and cast on a new dance reality show. But when its pop star judge Bruce takes an obsessive interest in Lucy's raw talent, Lucy's life suddenly becomes what she's always wanted, or has it? As she grows up in a whirlwind of talk shows, movie sets, and extravagant Hollywood parties, Lucy slowly grows more alienated from her family. And when a series of mistakes comes back to haunt her, she finds she must free herself from Bruce's world of fame and all its trappings and decide where her home really is. The Jaguar's Roar is the story of an indigenous Brazilian girl's kidnapping during a colonial expedition, intertwined with a young woman's modern-day search for identity and ancestral truths. This is the author's 5th novel, but it's the first to be translated into English. The book powerfully challenges dominant historical narratives by centering the voices of the stolen indigenous children. In the section set in contemporary Brazil, we meet Josefa, a young woman searching for her roots. The translator is a Brazilian native and seasoned journalist with years of experience reporting on Brazil's social and political landscapes. And we have 3 new Norton shorts coming out this fall. These are all written by leading edge scholars, and each of these eye-opening books delivers bold thinking and fresh perspectives in under 200 pages. So good for short attention spans. And now I have a peek at 4 of our winter titles. This catalog has just gone live on Edelweiss and will be adding digital ARCs as soon as they become available. The print ARCs are slowly starting to come in. So we are thrilled to be publishing best-selling author David Guterson's next novel, Evelyn in Transit. This is about defying expectations, hitting the road, and seeking the right way to live. Evelyn has always been a misfit. She's easily bored, unsuited to life at school, and asks odd questions about faith and time. Seeking to be true to herself, she hitchhikes across the American West taking odd jobs. She has a son, and 5 years later, a trio of Buddhist lamas show up at her door to announce that her son Cliff is the 7th reincarnation of a recently deceased holy man. The lama's visit sets off a family crisis and a media firestorm over Cliff's future. Lucy Kogler from Talking Leaves Bookstore is an early fan, and she said each character is fleshed out and complete. It is a glorious exploration of meaning and purpose. And I hope some of you remember Heating and Cooling, which was one of my favorites when we published it in 2017. That book introduced the concept of the micro-memoir, kind of a cross between poetry and memoir. In her new book, The Irish Goodbye, Beth Ann Fennelly uses her humor and insight to explore family, marriage, motherhood, place, and coming of age. Some of the pieces are just a couple of lines long, and some of them are a few pages. Full of unexpected wit, The Irish Goodbye is a record of the interstitial interactions, like encounters with strangers, quirky observations, and unexpected flights of fancy that make up a richly lived life. From a popular cartoonist comes a wry graphic memoir that traces the sometimes harrowing journey through medical school and residency. In See One, Do One, Teach One, Grace Ferris combines her passion for illustration with her vocation as a doctor. The book chronicles Grace's path through medical school and residency. Readers watch Grace confront the heartbreaking realities of caring for patients. Grace also discovers moments of joy, making her first correct diagnosis, finding kindred mentors, and when she least expects it, falling in love. Intimate and insightful, See One, Do One, Teach One captures the human side of healthcare, an empowering and entertaining addition to the conversation around modern medicine. And then I have one more book for next year. We're also very excited to be bringing Jan Martel to Norton. His new novel, Son of Nobody, is a brilliant retelling of the Trojan War from 2 commoners, an ancient soldier and a modern scholar. The story is told in a 2-part structure, with a modern scholar commenting on the ancient epic. The book grapples with questions of ambition, family, and responsibility in both the ancient and modern worlds, and this will be good to give to your fans of Madeline Miller and Emily Wilson. And then here's my contact information again. You can sign up for the library newsletter through this link on the screen. And thank you all so much for listening. I hope you have a great rest of the summer. Now I'll figure out how to stop sharing.
Not a problem, Golda. Yes, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, everyone, for being here. Congrats to everyone. And we will see you next week, hopefully, for our final event in our summer book bash. We will have summer romance and author panel. I'm very, very excited for it. So thank you again. I hope to see everyone next week.